Killing my coffee, dude. Killing my coffee, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is June 25th, 2021. We're almost at the end of the month. Here we are. It's another Friday TGIF. Killing my coffee. Or killing my coffee. Or killing McAfee. One of those, right? Jeez Louise, what is going on in this world? So much is going down. This week it's been a thinking week. It's been a time of just, I told you we're working on different projects, but I've been giving myself time to sit down and think. This week's been a thinking week. It's going to continue on for quite a while, actually, in that fashion, until more things evolve. And well, we're developing, man. The ball's rolling, we're going, we're evolving. Everything's evolving. What's going on in your lives? What's going on in my life? What are some important stuff that's going down? What's something important, or what's something interesting rather? Start with a little bit of something interesting, and then we'll get into the more important stuff down into the video. But again, as per usual, no agenda, loosey goosey around here. Is like the thing to discuss today. John McAfee, allegedly found dead in a Spanish jail cell where he was waiting to be extradited to the United States for various activities, criminal activities, this, that, and the other. But he was I didn't know too much about it. I've never really looked him up prior to this event. I've known he was a software developer. He was came up with the McAfee antivirus software. Don't know much about the guy, but I've seen a little bit of him on the internets, kind of being a proponent of cryptocurrency. But I did a little bit of just minor, brief little dig into his why was he being extradited. I didn't even know he was being extradited to the United States. I didn't know that he was involved in some perhaps sketchy activities here, there, everywhere. But yeah, so many things are going. But it's just hard for me to imagine. I'm just we like to sometimes we like to go by the facts, and sometimes we like to speculate. Just seems a little bit odd that this fellow committed suicide. 75 years old. 75 years old, billionaire, or at least a millionaire. Got a lot of dough. Had a lot of dough. At one point apparently was involved in some sorts of smuggling weapons, or dealing with weapons here and there. He's kind of a wild boy. He was a wild man, from what I gather. Again, don't know too much about the dude, but it's just from what I gather, he was being extradited for tax-related issues. Is that a good enough reason for you to go ahead and kill yourself? Then again, I did a little bit more, tiny little bit of research, but these are all, again, it's so hard to find facts and truth, especially when somebody's allegedly dead, or they went ahead and committed them suicides, apparently. But with all this money, with all this influence and power, well, not even influence, but rather money and power, at least to a certain degree, right? It's hard for me to imagine somebody committing suicide. Couldn't you have just gone back to the US and paid some lawyers and just, whatever it was, figure it out? Unless it was something bigger than just tax related stuff, or just if it's bigger than money, then perhaps, which it might be more than money, because I can't imagine somebody killing themselves for just owing money, dude. So I did a little bit of reading, it's hard to come up with facts, but apparently at one point he was living with a 17-year-old girl somewhere, Central America, or I forget, but potentially doing some sketchy work. But yeah, I don't know. So he committed suicides. He did the suicides, dude. He's I'm outie, allegedly. But that's what it is. And how do I know somebody, like, how do you and I know somebody committed suicide, or somebody's been killed, or somebody's been, it's hard to, it's because everything at the end of the day, everything you and I get is, again, we've talked about this before, but it's a re-representation of whatever the actual truth is. For you to actually know the truth, you're gonna have to be there either in person, or you're gonna have to actually see, evidence that can pinpoint to the facts. How do we know this potential sketchy millionaire, billionaire software developer who was kind of a wild boy, how do we know he's dead? How do we know he didn't just do a little bit of traveling to this part of the world or that part of the world, grow a mustache, shave the beard, who knows? Dye your hair, shave your hair, get a nose job, get a new ID. And just, if you can't live in the US, would you, it's all speculation. Obviously, that's what we do around here. We speculate. And through speculation, maybe we might stumble upon the truth. I don't know. But he's dead, dude. He's dead. At least his identity is dead in the public realm. But it got me to think. I'm not too interested in this story. But what I am interested in is people who commit suicide, dude. Talking about Epstein. Let's not forget Epstein, okay? Let's not forget Epstein. And the reason why this article or this news story caught my attention is because the people being detained in jail cells and then committing suicide, people who are trying to, people who are related to other big people or big names, doing sketchy, weird shit. I'm talking about right now Ghislaine Maxwell. Where's Ghislaine, yo? Let's make sure she's still alive. Is she still alive? Is she still kicking? Is anybody watching this girl or this lady? Actually, it's a farce. Man. So her ex, Epstein, man, was basically kind of a pimp, if you will, right? Throwing these lavish parties, getting famous people, powerful people to attend, getting them to do sketchy stuff with underage girls, who knows, maybe even underage boys, doing sketchy, weird shit on islands, and just penthouses in New York, and this place and that place, doing sketchy shit, and then all of a sudden he commits suicides, allegedly. Well, we got one person alive, let's keep her alive. And in the meantime, why aren't we questioning this bitch, bro? Why aren't we questioning this bitch? Ghislaine Maxwell. Why aren't we questioning her? Oh, it's because of COVID. We gotta, because of COVID. Okay. She had a court date and we had to move it because of COVID. Okay. Well, let's keep her alive. It's for sure. Let's keep her alive. And can't we start questioning though? Does it have to be so bureaucratic? Can't we just get a little bit of truth? Who was this lady connected to? What did she know? What does she know now? Oh. Why did Billy Clinton take so many flights to that island? Not like once or twice, not even a handful of times. Not even a dozen times. It's a frequent flyer. If there were cards that were stamped for, sometimes you'll go to a place and they'll give you a guide. That's how it was back in the day. There was I'd go to a place, it was a little coffee shop, I paid them a visit every once in a while, and eventually they came up with the ideas of giving it. Now, McDonald's will do that for you guys. Other places will do, it's kind of like an incentive for you to go out there, buy 7 coffees or whatever, buy 5 coffees, get the 6th one for free. Wonder if they had like a system, similar system, but with like sketchy shit, you know. Show up 5 times, 6 times on us. Ugh, yikes. But why aren't we questioning this? It's been like and everything. That's the thing with the news cycle too. We try to like. There's so much happening all the time, everywhere. Good God. But Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, I don't know too much about her, but her father, again, I don't know too much about her father either, but did a little tiny research, and I encourage everybody else to go out there and do a little bit of research. Ask a little bit of questions. Why aren't we questioning this woman who was potentially tied to sex trafficking? Why is she just sitting up in some hotel or like jail cell waiting to be, what did we, man, oh man, just asking questions, dude, just asking questions. I often think about this. Is it possible to disappear off of the earth? Like, get off the grid? Is it possible if you had the money or resources, or do we live in an iron cage? Before technology, definitely, like 50 years ago, maybe even as late as the 70s or 80s, you could definitely get away with a lot. You could do a lot and get away. There wasn't a lot of ways to keep track of people. There's benefits to that, there's downsides to that, but nowadays it's like, if you really want to, like, not even for any like malevolent purposes or anything, like, what if you just wanted to get in touch with nature and get away from the hustle and bustle of the city? Could you really disconnect? Is that even a possibility? I'm just asking a question. Is that even a possibility? Or has that become a rhetorical question though? Because like, you can't just like get up and like go into the woods, dude. You can't just go and like build yourself a little home in the middle of the woods, you know? Because we spoke about this again, like 90% of the land in Canada still, it's crown land, dude. In this day and age, it's still crown land, belongs to the Queen. Why don't we ask these bigger questions? Why do we still have a Queen on our dollar bills, man? It's a little bit weird. That's like, a few weeks ago we discovered, I believe, was it 215 children who were buried at residential schools. Now we just found, I think we just found some more. I think we found more than 700 unmarked graves belonging to children who attended the residential schools in Canada, from the Indigenous community, from the First Nations community. A lot of questions to be asked. And it's good that people are talking, but some things I wish we did more fundamental change, more proper change. And I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I don't think anybody does. For the most of the time, people are level-headed. People want the same things. It's just like, let's make things fair. I don't really, like, as we get stuck on the little things sometimes, and maybe the little things are important too. The little things go a long way, actually, but I do like to see more. I don't want it to just stop at take down this statue, take down that statue, change this street's name, cancel this holiday, put another holiday instead. It's It's like we're fixating on the icing or the little cherry and like forgetting the whole cake. Let's change a street name, or at least a letter of it, because it's bothering me. Because I used to be with this guy, this racist guy. Used to he was. I don't want us to change history. I don't want us to change history. Let's face it. But in facing it, let's make actual proper adjustments. Let's make adjustments to, again, like the way we look at land ownership. Why do we have a divide between renters and owners? And, these topics are tricky, but it needs to be addressed. It can't just go on in the same old fashion, Plenty of resources, plenty of land, plenty of money, plenty of reasons as why people should be incentivized for wanting better things for themselves and other people, aside just the monetary aspect of things. You want the best. You want the best for yourself, and you just want the best for others because that's the most logical thing any of us can think of. It doesn't make sense for you to just want to get it just for you. It doesn't make sense. That's why when I see people out on the streets being harassed, I don't see them as the problem. And my heart goes out to the fellas and the ladies who say, well, what about us? That we worked hard for ours. Good for you. And as you should, as should everybody. We should all be striving to do better. But if you've achieved whatever level of success, then you have a responsibility. All of us, with responsibility comes power. If you've reached that, if you worked hard and you got that home and you got a good business and you got a family and you got this, that, and the other, good, enjoy it. You deserve it, absolutely, and I'm happy for you. But your job doesn't end there. It doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's all of us. It's all of us pitching in together. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter that, oh, well, I worked hard and I got mine. You work hard too and you get yours, buddy. Absolutely, everybody should be working hard, but if you have gone ahead and have achieved things, this is, it's like, because here on earth, man, it's like, it could be heaven, not to put it in like an idealistic way or like a romanticized idea of heaven, but it is heaven. Essentially, we could make it into a very good place, and it already is a magnificent place. It's just like, we're all gardeners, we're all attending, we're all just, you can't just fixate on your little portion of the garden and make that look good and like attend to that. Sure, if you got that going on, that's fantastic, but it comes with, again, with power comes responsibility. What are you doing to change the next phase or the next level, the next layer around you in your proximity? What are you doing? Starts, and absolutely, like, that's the thing. First and foremost, and this is, I tell myself this, but I believe this to be true for everybody else out there as well. I want to make myself the best version, the strongest version, the most balanced version, the most, my best self. And then I want to be attending to other people as well. And that starts with my family, friends, my community. But, for people who, and that's the thing, I don't think any of us have a solution. This is what it is, man. Humanity, it's all of us coming in together, pitching in together so that we can all get uplifted. Because there's really no point of striving for even greater things if we still can't figure out the messes that we got going on down here. If we want to be, we're aiming to be a multi-planetary species, and that's part of the aim, we can't forget about the messes that we've created here. Because this will carry on to other locations. It doesn't matter. Sorry about that. Yeah, we should definitely think of ways where everybody gets access to a little piece of land, Because that's how it was, you know, back in the day. Of course, there, you know, it was just more dispersed. You had different rulers, and you had different kings and kingdoms, and all the kings and kingdoms were all in charge of different clans, and everybody was, you know, you were protected by your clan and your little wall around your little city. And eventually, you know, the bigger cities, the bigger kings took over, and we all know these stories. We all know these stories. But at the end of the day, we somehow got coerced to believing that we need somebody else's protection. Somehow we got coerced into believing we need somebody else's protection, and I just want everybody to be self-sufficient as much as possible. You know what I mean? I want everybody to be self-sufficient as possible. I hope this makes sense. And in order to be self-sufficient, you need the truth. You need to know what's right, what's wrong. You need to be able to distinguish clearly. And the truth is not easy to find. It comes through communication, it comes through listening, it comes through talking and hearing different opinions. The truth is not just one side. The truth is not just black and white. And this is it's an important time we talk about these things. Issues of censorship, issues of free speech. It's very important. It's very important to me. I believe it's very important to a lot of you guys out there as well. Some of you guys, you know, I don't know, everybody does different things, and a portion of this is definitely, you know, we come here and that's the thing, man. We talk about different issues here. We talk about funny shit, we talk about serious shit. And something worthy of attention was watching Joe Rogan Experience and the interview with Pierre Corey and Dr. Pierre Corey and Brett Weinstein. And I encourage all you guys out there to go and listen and support these people, because it's important that we hear different sides. It's important, especially when it comes to science, and that's the issue that I have with Fauci, or the likes of Fauci, who come in and blatantly say remarks like, if you question me, you're questioning science. If you question me, you're questioning science. If you question me, you're questioning science? Bro, that doesn't even make sense. Isn't the whole point of science to ask questions? I just, you know, it's heartbreaking, and it's a little disconcerting, because when I hear Dr. Corey and Brett Weinstein speak about medicine that's been available to us, like, and I wrote this down so I get it right, because I'm not a doctor, but I look at people, I look at different people, and I listen, and I try to make sound decisions in my life. When I hear other doctors talking about potential medicine that's been around, ivermectin's been around, and we could have been using this bad boy. Some countries are, it's being used right now in India. I've not heard about this up until now, and we're well over a year into this. Absolutely, restrictions are easing little by little, but I encourage everybody to go out there and listen to the podcast, and I encourage everybody out there to support finding truth at the end of the day in whatever shape or form you find suitable. But this was really interesting to me. Like maybe you don't have 3 hours to listen carefully and pay attention, but at least I can tell you that there are other narratives that are being discussed. There are alternative ways of tackling issues, but people are getting silenced, they're getting censored, they're getting labeled, and we've got a lot of questions to ask. So on top of that, now we got to ask questions like, okay, what's happening with who's in charge of what kind of information gets decimated and what kind of information gets, squashed. The likes of Facebook, the likes of YouTube, who gets to decide what information is good, valuable information, and what information is disinformation or rather harmful to who gets to decide, These are all very important questions, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be asking these questions because, again, the roaring 20s are here, but at the same time, this is going to be a magnificent decade. But if we're not, this is also a decade that people are going to be looking back and talking about because we're shifting very rapidly into a new world, boys and girls. A world of beauty and full of potential, but at the same time, we're now facing big dangers out there, essentially. Development of artificial intelligence, sentient artificial intelligence. We've already created computers that can beat our smartest chess players. And we need to think about a lot of things. I'm very optimistic as I speak with you guys today. I sit here and I'm very optimistic, and I always believe in the greater good, and I always believe in us pulling in together and working together. I'm a big believer in the fact that there's way more good people and people with good intentions out there trying to do good things. But instead of a few things that I'd like to see maybe decoupled or get a little bit less attention or attachment with money is politics. Let's decouple politics and money, or try to we need to come up with alternative methods, you guys. This is not gonna, because this will, if we don't actually change anything or if we don't do anything, this type of behavior will just keep on going. When you're giving big funds to researchers to look into gain of function research, from my understanding, it's basically when you look at the evolution of viruses and you get in there and you speed up the evolution and you make the progress go a little bit faster so you can tackle it with different medicines to see if you can still cure it or prevent it from spreading. Gain of function research is extremely important because we're pouring a ton of money into it. And again, this week's been a very busy week for me because I'm just like, there's different aspects of my brain that I'd like to stimulate. Sometimes, it takes a bit of creativity. Sometimes it takes a little bit of listening and paying attention or reading, or it's just interesting because I was also another great interview that I encourage everybody out there to go and check out was the Lex Friedman podcast with Robert Reed. And again, they were talking about the same issues and many other issues as well, which were of interest to me, but I think you guys would find this information very useful as well. Doing what we're doing, it's kind of inevitable for us to have other outbreaks of other different sort of viruses and other different sorts of pandemics in the coming years. And it's alarming because what we just experienced, although it was horrible in many different shapes and forms, it's a very, very small fraction of what could actually happen. And we should be asking questions, and we should all be cooperating together. because you don't want, and that's the thing when we talk about, or we try to talk about, or ask questions rather about, was this, how did this virus come to existence? And initially it was the wet markets in Wuhan, and more it's becoming apparent that it's probably manifesting from the lab right across the wet market that was working on the coronaviruses, on gain and function research. And it's not to, and this is not to, it doesn't make me happy once this is, once we figure out that this in fact was a lab leak. It's not, because lab leaks, just like any other, it could either be, what are the two scenarios that we could look at? It could either be intentional or an accident. If it's intentional, that's a different story. If it's just an accident, well, we need to be looking at both sides of the story, because if it is an accident, this means that it can happen again. And whether it was intentional or unintentional is not even it's not even my concern. My concern is, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? How do we make sure that the researchers that are getting a ton of money going into these facilities, how do we make sure that the facilities are on par with the safety standards? And how do we make sure that we're not using these technologies to essentially weaponize viruses and create catastrophes, essentially? How do we make sure these things don't happen? So that's the thing, but sometimes at least not in the real world, not in the physical world that you speak with people, because at the end of the day, when you speak with most people will hear you out, most people, if you're having a conversation. But online, it's a different story. Online, things are taken out of context. You're only looking at excerpts, you're only looking at, and the second you start asking certain questions, it's alarming to me that, again, something like ivermectin's not been brought up to our attention. Why? Again, go listen to the entire podcast if you have the time, but if you don't have the time, essentially, because ivermectin was out of patent, ivermectin was out of fashion, ivermectin was not made recently, so you can't make profits off of it. The patent's already out, it's out of patent, and you can actually produce it and sell it to people, but there's no money in that, so we need new medicine. So let's, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because this thing could have been nipped in the bud very easily, and this could also, we can all just like go back to normal. Let's call a spade, all right? Even the fact that we're still like, oh, well, we need another week to, and still you need to do, guys. Originally, of course, I'm not here to downplay the reality of COVID. COVID exists. Our reactions to COVID, our overreaction it's artificial. It feels artificial. It feels politicized. It feels like it's been hijacked. It feels like it's been used as a fear tactic, and it feels like something that now government bodies have up in their sleeve that they could use on us any other time, because the precedent has been set that in case of a similar event taking place, we're all gonna have to, do this again. They're already prepping us. 5 years down the line, and we don't know when it can happen, what it can happen. And absolutely it can happen, but it's like, let's make sure that it doesn't. Let's question, let's actually ask important questions. And everybody needs to do their part, and everybody needs to do their part. It's just, I wonder what it will take for things to change so that we get a little bit of a level playing field in all aspects, in terms of getting access to information, in terms of getting access to the truth, in terms of getting access to resources, in terms of being treated with respect and dignity, and not being, because sometimes, and because you'll have people in charge and the higher ups will come up, and like if there's information that needs to be shared, they might not tell you the truth, and the rationale behind it is, well, we're protecting, we're doing it for the greater good. Who are you to decide what is for the greater good? You're withholding information, or you're telling half-truths, or you're only telling one side of the story. Essentially, they're telling the public through this action that you guys are a bunch of idiots, you guys are a bunch of numbnuts, you can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth, is what they're saying. When it comes to anything, at the end of it, it's just like you can't handle the truth when it comes to anything. You, the average people, you go play this Monopoly game because that's all you can handle. That's all your little brains can handle. You go play this cheese chasing game, and we here in the upper echelons of society will sit back and decide where money gets allocated to what, who gets placed in what positions, where we're going to explore, where we're not going to explore. And it's just by, it's by, how do they do it? It's through division and conquering. It's through pitting regular folks up against each other. It's through the little things. They get us disagreeing on little things, and all of a sudden you find yourself arguing about things that are minuscule and that divide you and don't actually let you see eye to eye with your friends, your family members, with your colleagues, with your coworkers, because everybody's got their opinions. Every opinions are like, we heard this before a million times, right? Opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one. I just want people, this is what I want everybody to do, including myself. I try to practice what I preach, and not to sound like whatever. I don't know anything, man. I don't know anything. All I know is I know I can ask questions. But what I'd like people to do is ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Don't settle for the obvious answers. Don't let people coerce you. Don't let people shut anybody. Nobody should be in this day and age worried about what they're saying to be canceled or silenced or none of that, especially when it comes to like science and facts. Are you kidding me? We need to all stand up. We need to all raise our voices and join our forces and unite together instead of getting divided. Are you wearing a mask or are you not wearing a mask? Did you get your shot or did you not get your shot? These little things are only here to divide us. The more we bicker and argue, it's like, let's move past these things and actually get to the bottom of the issues. Because when it comes to the bigger issues affecting every one of us, it's a lot of, you'll notice a lot of government overreach and a lot of too much institutional power, essentially, not letting people be entrepreneurs, not letting people be creative, not letting people do things. It's like, because like back in the day, there was just like, how we came up with all of this? All of this is through people having the spirit of adventure, of wanting to go out there and do things and actually being able to do it. But eventually we got to a certain level where the overlords, they had to crack the whip, right? They're like, oh, let's reel this back in before they figure out too much. Every year, they're always gatherings of public figures around the world in different locations, the G7 summits, G20 summits, this group, that group, the Bilderberg group. It's just one of them. There's so many out there. And anything anybody says, the easiest method of shutting it down, shut it down. The easiest method is to come up with, to call anything you don't agree with, call the person, the C word, conspiracy theorist. You can do that to everybody, dude, and that's the essential damage. Or it's like calling somebody, it's like the word conspiracy theorist was created so that people don't question the JFK assassination. Fun fact. But calling anybody, it's like the extreme thing. If you want to really dehumanize or take away their power or agency, but that's falling flat on its face as well, because people are smart enough to realize that you can't just call everybody a Nazi, that you can't just call everybody a racist, that you can't just call everybody a conspiracy theorist, that you can't just continue to cry wolf and then there's no wolf. You're gonna look ridiculous, and that's what it is. Every time there is issues that needs to be discussed or dug into, you'll hear, and sure, there are definitely dumbass, ridiculous concepts out there that, well, whatever. That's the thing. We should give everybody the chance to speak. We should give everybody. There is no, even in the silliest and most ridiculous of ideas, there's a little kernel of truth. There's a little something that we can take away and learn from. So my spidey senses, if you will, get a little heightened every time I hear just one side of a story. It doesn't matter what topic it is. And if I'm hearing just one side and the other side or other sides are getting silenced, I feel concerned, I feel alarmed. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. But it's like, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's fix our banking system. Let's fix the way we have created this renters versus owners global society, okay? Let's fix all these things. Let's make sure that human rights are preserved. Let's not just, let's not just force our way into things. Let's not just force our will and our way of thinking on, oh, it's either this way or that way, or either this or that. It's either black or white. Yes, so please go ahead and support or listen to and support them in any shape or form that you can. Pierre Corey, Dr. Pierre Corey, and Brett Weinstein. Look into ivermectin, John McAfee or McAfee, weird. Ghislaine Maxwell, somebody look after her, make sure she's still alive and kicking. We'll leave it be for today, boys and girls. We'll leave it be for today. It's Friday and it's been... Oh. No, I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to, you know what? Bear with me a few seconds because the battery is running low on this bad boy. I'm going to just plug it in. We'll be right back after a few messages from our sponsors. Sorry about that, technical difficulties, but before we wrap it up today, I did want to briefly talk about them aliens, dude. What's going on with the aliens, or the UFOs rather, the unidentified flying objects that we've been seeing or hearing about more or less this year? There's supposed to be a Pentagon update on these UFOs, and I'm just wondering what we're going to hear because we don't know what they are. And again, going back to asking questions, it's like it's so hard for you and I, the average person, to verify what is true because at the end of the day, you and I will only see a video and it says it's verified by the Pentagon. But how do you and I know what's what? How do you and I know that this is not just a psyop of sorts? Whose technology is it if it's not alien? And if it's not alien, then it's man-made. If it is an actual, but how do we even know that this is not just like really good virtual reality? How do you and I get to verify the video? How do I know what I'm looking at is legitimate? And that's a good question just to ask on its own. So whatever you do see or hear, always take it with a pinch or a handful of salt and pepper and ask questions. But what are we doing at this point? Could it be aliens? It could definitely be aliens. Could it not be aliens? It could definitely not be aliens as well. And if it's just man-made tech, well, brings us to a few other questions, because if it's man-made, well, then the way these things are traveling is super fast and there's no evidence of any propulsion system. So it's a new technology, but it's moving at rapid speeds and going in different directions, like the Tic Tac videos. But if we do have this technology, then why are we bothering with like sending rockets into space? Couldn't we just use these bad boys and bad gals to fly everywhere else? So we're at that point where if it's alien tech, we're gonna have to kind of backwards engineer this bad boy and figure a way out. Now we have the model. How do they make it work? So we need our best scientists in the world to start deciphering that little puzzle. And if it is human-made, who's got it? If it's anybody's tech, if it's human-made tech, I would assume that it would be American-made. America. I find it hard to believe that, just with the amount, I don't think it would be Chinese or Russian tech. I don't think so. It's just my guess. It's just my hunch. But if it is American made, then whoever made it doesn't even matter. But like if it's man-made, isn't it kind of like both game over and also like press a new button on a new game, sort of? Because it's like whoever has this tech is just going to be dominating others, right? Like if you're still like flying with like F-16s and shit, and there's this bad boy like just like fidgeting from one place to another in a matter of seconds, like it's game over, okay? It's game over. So if it's us just like kind of like flexing our secret weaponry in the West, if it's us flexing, dude, and just like puffing our chest, what's the next step? And I think that's where we're at. I think everybody's just like looking at each other like, well, I'll wait till you make the next move. And it's this monkey brain, it's this lizard brain, or it's just like the animal brain, or the animal portion of the animalistic instincts that just like, operate on fear and survival. The part of our brain that works on scarcity, right? Oh, I gotta just preserve it for me and my own. Let's get everybody on the same page, is what I'm saying, dude. Ask questions, boys and girls. It's a wonderful time to be alive. It's got a ton of potential, but we do need to be thinking about a lot of things. Freedom of speech, advancement of technology, artificial intelligence, biochemical weapons, traveling into space, space debris, tackling things like You know what? Well, you know what? There's so many things that we'll come back to it. We'll leave it be because I think that's a whole lot of like, man, this sesh was a little bit more on the heavy side, on a little bit of a serious note. But that's what it is, man. That's what it is. We'll come back here tomorrow for the Patreon edition and do it a little bit different. That's what we do around here. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all the love and support. If you're a long time viewer and listener, thank you very much for all your love and support wherever you are in and around this world. I appreciate it. If you're a newcomer to the show, if you're just tuning in, hey man, thanks for sticking through. And if you like it, go ahead and like it on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. It means a lot. Go ahead and search Rob Sadri on YouTube so you can get the full-length videos. And if you want to support your boy a little bit differently, if you're the type that just likes to do it, you want to go against the grain. You're the type of person that wants to do it their way. Did it my way. If you want to do that, go on Patreon and support your boy. Boy appreciates it until we figure it out, until we figure it all out together. We're figuring it out, man. We're figuring it out. We're kicking butt, taking names. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay safe. Have a great start to your weekend. I'll see y'all very soon. Peace out. Ask questions. Bye.